Okay, so what if the book of Revelation wasn't really about fear and confusing timelines? What if it was actually a personal letter, a letter of deep, unshakable hope? Let's reframe this incredible book for what it was always meant to be, a guide to perseverance written for people just like us, facing immense pressure, showing us how to stand firm in our faith no matter what comes our way.
And it all starts right here. With this one sentence, we're not dealing with some abstract prophecy, we're with a real person. This is John, a close friend of Jesus. And he's not writing from a palace, he's in exile, stuck on the desolate island of Patmos. Just think about that. This powerful, incredible vision of ultimate victory was born from a place of real suffering. And that right there is our first big idea. God so often speaks most powerfully when we're in our most challenging circumstances. You see, John's exile, it wasn't some punishment that sidelined him. No, it was the exact setting God chose to pull back the curtain and reveal the grand finale of his entire plan for history.
I mean, have you ever felt that way? Like you're on your own Patmos? Well, John's story is this incredible reminder that those moments, those times of isolation or hardship, can become the very places where God's purpose shines the brightest. It's in our weakness that his strength is so often made perfect. And this really gets to the heart of why he was there. John was on Patmos because he was faithful. He was a pillar in the early church, and his powerful testimony about Jesus was seen as a huge threat by the Roman Empire. But here's the amazing part. What the empire meant to silence him, God used to amplify his voice for thousands of years. So, from this lonely island, Jesus tells John to write to 7 real churches in what we now call Turkey. And these weren't just symbolic names. These were actual communities of believers, a lot like our churches today, facing very real struggles with their faith and the culture all around them. And just look at how relevant these struggles still are today. You had Ephesus, they had all the right doctrine, but they'd lost that passionate first love for Jesus. Smyrna was going through intense suffering and was told, be faithful, even if it costs you everything. Pergamum was starting to compromise its beliefs to just fit in. Sardis had this great reputation on the outside, but inside it was spiritually dead. And then there's Laodicea, so wealthy and comfortable that their faith had become lukewarm and apathetic. These aren't just ancient problems, are they? So just take a second to think about that. Which one of those letters kind of hits home for you? It's like a spiritual checkup for us. These messages invite us to look at our own hearts and ask, where am I drifting? Where am I compromising or growing cold? And they call us right back to a passionate, wholehearted devotion to Christ. All right, so after addressing those specific churches, John's vision zooms way out to show us the bigger picture, this massive spiritual conflict that's happening behind the scenes of all human history. This is the cosmic battle. And this chart breaks down the core conflict so well. On one side, you have the kingdom of the Lamb, Jesus' kingdom. It's built on sacrifice, on truth, and on patient endurance. But on the other side, you've got the kingdom of the beast, which runs on deception, brute force, and outright rebellion against God. The entire book of Revelation is really about the unavoidable collision of these two kingdoms. Now, this is where that infamous mark of the beast comes into play. But instead of being just a point of fear and speculation, the book presents it as a symbol of your ultimate allegiance. In a world that's demanding you conform to its godless system, the mark simply represents a conscious choice to reject God and worship the beast instead. It forces a decision. Where does your loyalty truly lie? But just as the conflict looks like it's reaching its absolute peak, the vision pivots to the ultimate hope. You see, this is not a battle with an uncertain outcome. The number one message of Revelation is the absolute, guaranteed, and total victory of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. This throne room scene, it is absolutely breathtaking. A call goes out looking for someone worthy enough to unseal God's plan for history, and nobody is found. But then a lamb appears, looking as though it had been slain. And this is the great paradox of the gospel. The one who was sacrificed is the only one with the authority to rule. His victory was won not through raw power, but through incredible sacrifice. The vision then flashes forward to a future time when Christ's victory is put on full display right here on earth. It describes a millennial kingdom, a 1,000-year reign where Jesus rules in perfect peace and justice, fulfilling all of God's promises and showing the world what his kingdom is truly all about. And this This is the final goal. This is the sure hope that gets us through every single trial on this earth. It's the promise of a new heaven and a new earth where God Himself will live with His people and where every broken thing in this world is finally and perfectly made whole. Every single tear wiped away, all suffering just undone. So knowing how the story ends completely changes how we live in the middle of it, right? This grand vision in Revelation isn't just something for us to admire from a distance. It's meant to fuel our faith right here, right now. It gives us practical principles for how to persevere. So how do we actually live this out? Well, Revelation boils it down to what it calls patient endurance. And it looks like this. First, we endure patiently by trusting God's timing, especially when we don't understand it. Second, we keep His commands by intentionally living His way, not the world's way. And third, we remain faithful to Jesus, holding on tight to our testimony of Him, because we know the Lamb has already won the ultimate victory. And isn't it beautiful that the book doesn't end with a final judgment, but with an invitation? It's a personal call to everyone, anyone who is thirsty for hope, for purpose, for real life. It's a free gift offered by the victorious King Himself. You see, Revelation isn't a locked book of secrets. It's an open invitation into God's victorious story. And that really leaves us with this one powerful, final question. Knowing that evil's reign is only temporary and that Jesus' kingdom is eternal, well, that changes everything. It gives us courage for today and a rock-solid hope for tomorrow. So the question for all of us is, how will you live in light of that unshakable truth?